Turning to business now for you on France 24, and if the US falls amid fears related, of course, to that virus outbreak in China we just mentioned. Amongst those hit, for example, airlines, also China-exposed casino operators. Here's the markets for you, as you can see, just slightly down right across the board in the US. Asian markets, though, well, they've really bounced, actually, since as the Chinese authorities responded to that virus outbreak, they're tempering fears somewhat. We saw that interview clip with the authorities there. Just that Shanghai shares dipping, though, amid worries about a hit to domestic demand. Well, let's cross then live to Kuala Lumpur. We're going to speak to Han Tan. He's market analyst from FXTM. Han, the coronavirus then really starting to affect the markets, particularly, of course, in Shanghai.
Yeah, there was this immediate reaction to the news when it broke earlier this week. But as you mentioned earlier, beyond perhaps some specific stocks or that are linked to sectors such as travel and tourism, the broader reaction appears rather contained. I mean, sure, investors made some knee-jerk comparisons to the 2003 virus outbreak, SARS outbreak, but these are still early days. Now, the sell-off could get worse if the current outbreak starts affecting global economic stability, beyond just sentiment, and if the authorities show that they are unable to contain it for an extended period of time. But until then, it's still very much a wait-and-see situation.
Yeah, the financial and business world, they're obviously watching that very, very carefully. You would have thought they'd be watching the other thing, wouldn't you? The World Economic Forum at Davos. I'm sure they are as well, but perhaps it's been a little bit overshadowed?
Yeah, it has been. Now, Davos will be great for generating talking points, but as far as major market-moving events, I don't think that's really on the plate, on the menu for this year, except maybe President Trump's address. But as we realize, he merely parroted talking points that we are all very familiar with by now. So that's come and gone. I think what's interesting is that among the major talking points, there's been this marked shift towards climate risks at this year's forum. If you look at, say, concerns over the last couple of years over data theft, over cybersecurity, that really hasn't featured much on the main table, so to speak. So whether or not these talking points actually translate into action, I guess we'll have to wait until the snow melts to find out.
Indeed we will. Han Tan, thanks very much, market analyst there from FXTM in Kuala Lumpur. There are, of course, the fears that virus could really hit still the economy in China. The virus, reminiscent of the SARS virus that killed hundreds of people in 2003, cost the region billions of dollars. As Sam Bradpeace reports, many people have already cancelled travel plans ahead of the Chinese New Year.
China's deadly coronavirus is beginning to infect global markets. Asian stocks were particularly hard hit in Tuesday's trading. The travel sector was badly affected, with share prices tumbling in airlines, hotel and casino operators and booking platforms. European luxury goods makers have also seen share prices fall amid concerns over reduced business from Chinese consumers. Asian pharmaceutical companies, on the other hand, have seen shares spike, and face masks have even sold out in parts of the country. The overall economic impact of this outbreak will likely be determined by whether the government opts to introduce comprehensive restrictions on movement.
Just after Chinese New Year, when normally the factories are resuming their production, it could really disorganize the production system and have an impact on the rest of the world.
The virus has revived memories of the SARS epidemic detected in China in 2003, which killed 800 people worldwide. Over a 6-month period, the World Health Organization estimated the global cost of this earlier outbreak at $40 billion. It is unclear whether 17 years on, with the Chinese economy far more important on the global stage, whether the impact of this new virus will be greater.
Let's talk a little bit more now about Davos, in fact. Many relieved there at the at least temporary truce between France and the US over France's proposed digital tax, which would really hit big US companies like Google and Facebook. The main details, though, of that proposed tax were to be discussed later there today. And from Davos, here's our business editor, Stephen Carroll.
The dispute over France's digital tax with the United States has already generated some headlines during this meeting of the World Economic Forum in Davos, but the main details are going to be discussed at a meeting later today. French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire is going to meet his American counterpart, Steven Mnuchin, and they'll be joined by Angel Gurria. He's the head of the OECD. They're going to be talking about not only France's tax on digital giants, this 3% levy that's angered Washington, who say that it unfairly targets American companies, but also a new global tax plan designed by the OECD, which is being discussed by 135 countries. That plan cannot succeed without American support, and France has said that if it's agreed upon, they will withdraw their own tax in favour of this new system. So a global agreement could perhaps resolve the dispute for tariffs between the US and France. Now, that could be good news for French producers of things like wine and cheese, because their products would have been targeted by American measures. Progress from this meeting could in fact be good news too for agreement on a European level on taxation, because France was unable to secure support at an EU level for this measure either.